You had an exchange with an audience member where you confirmed that you would vote to impeach President Trump if given the opportunity. Those remarks came on the same evening Trump addressed the nation as far as the war in Afghanistan. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on the president and those remarks.
Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and we want him to be successful, especially as it pertains to supporting our service members and conducting our foreign policy and the wars that we wage. As it pertains to meeting the commitments that we have to our veterans, those who've borne the battle coming back from those wars, on those things where we might be able to agree. An infrastructure spending program that'll put millions of Americans, hundreds of thousands potentially of Texans, back to work. And so I will try to find common ground where we have common cause. But his mendacity, his lies to the American people, whether it's about Mexican immigrants being rapists and criminals, whether it's about 3 million quote unquote illegals voting unlawfully in the last election, whether it's the potential collusion with the country of Russia or the obstruction of justice at the highest levels, the effort to intimidate those who are investigating and following the facts, and his tacit approval and I would argue even encouragement of those same white nationalists who are marching in Charlottesville, Virginia. I do not believe that he is fit to lead this country, but there is a democratic, lawful process that we must follow. And guess what? That process cannot work if we are not able to join with Republicans who see beyond partisanship and what's good for their careers to what's best for this country.
You've talked about Republicans. You road tripped it with Congressman Will Hurd, who got 2 new Democratic challengers over the weekend. Do you plan to endorse in that race?
I don't. Nope. Listen, I've got nearly 18 months left in my term in Congress, and what you want from me is not politicking for other people in other congressional districts. You want me to find a way to work with Will Hurd to, as we have, try to figure out immigration reform, improve the conditions for our veterans and ensuring that we can fulfill our commitments to them, supporting our service members, trying to devise a strategy for the wars that we are fighting overseas, including the longest one in U.S. history in Afghanistan. I can't work with Republicans if they think that I'm trying to screw them by working against their reelection. So I'm going to stay out of that race. I wish the people of that district the best in choosing the best person to represent their interests. I'm not going to be a voice in that election.
Veronica Escobar, set to announce on Saturday, likely for your seat. Are you formally endorsing her for that race?
I love Veronica Escobar. She has been a phenomenal county judge, and as a son of a former El Paso County judge, I'll tell you I have some basis in this. She's the best county judge El Paso has had. She took on corruption at the courthouse and won. She set a very high standard for honesty and leadership and public service, and I think we in El Paso would be well served by Veronica representing our interests in the U.S. Congress. In addition, she would be, believe it or not, the first Latina to represent a congressional district in the U.S. House of Representatives from Texas. So for all the right reasons, including the historical ones, she's the person that I'm going to get behind, and I'm going to encourage my fellow El Pasoans to do the same.
A lot of talk about Confederate symbols being removed from college campuses, state grounds. What's your take on how this part of our history should be handled modern day?
By and large, I like the way that those who are in positions of public trust are trying to handle this. We look at the president of UT Austin, who made the difficult but important decision to remove those statues from a place of public honor to one more befitting a museum where they can be placed in context, and the legacy of slavery, the Confederacy, and those in Texas who joined the Confederacy can be placed in context.
We hear Democrats at every level here in the state talk about voter turnout. We heard it last week at the Capitol. Congressman Castro was talking about it. How do you translate turnouts like rallies here in Killeen to get them to the polls?
Well, when folks describe us as a red state or a Republican state, or perhaps in the future a blue state, they're missing the point that this is a non-voting state. And whether it's the active suppression of the vote, which the courts have found to be true 4 times just this year, whether it is the perpetual reelection of members of Congress and the Senate, 93% reelection rate over 50 years. So when they have a member of Congress running for the Senate, as I am in my case, who doesn't take PAC money, who is not just introducing term limits legislation, but is holding himself to no more than 2 terms in the Senate, and who wants to defeat the gerrymandering in Texas where members of Congress choose their voters instead of the other way around by setting up a nonpartisan redistricting commission. They have a chance to be part of something that is of, for, and by Texans.